Please give this video a like and subscribe!
All right. Hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be, and welcome back to Honey Badger Radio. My name is Brian. I'm here with John, the problematic white guy, and this is the Week in Culture, where we talk about the cultural news of the week and try to put a, let's say, like a different spin on it than most. All right. Hi, John. How are you doing?
Awesome as always. Like I was mentioning right before the show, I got a little bit of some tech issues with my Steam Deck. But otherwise, no complaints. Just par for the course in this in these endeavors. You have to rely on tech, but you also have to try to meet your schedule. So I've been, if at some point in time I blank out, I will be back via phone, I'm sure. But
oh yeah, do you anticipate something might happen?
No. I'm just that it's just I have
Tongue in cheek.
Yeah, well, I've started to develop a reputation as the guy who shows up even when I don't have power. Because that happened earlier in the week as well. That was on Thursday, and then yesterday, all my tech just started dying on me in various ways, or seizing up, and I had to open up my Steam Deck yesterday, disconnect the battery for about 5 minutes, reconnect it so that I could actually get it to turn back on again because it was fully charged. And then last night, it locked up again after I got it up and running again, but I had to leave it running because it locked up like it did previous to that. And sometimes if your Steam Deck ever locks up and you can feel air coming out of your Steam Deck, you just have to let it sit there and just burn off all the power that's in its battery. And then when you plug it in, because I think my power switch is also effed up in all this stuff, which is why I haven't been able to just shut it down for the last few months. So I'm dealing with a little bit of an issue, but life moves forward, and I try not to focus on the challenges, try to focus more on the opportunities. So so
there you go. That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah,
that's a good way to look at it. All right, and let me give a quick shout out to the chat here. So first, let me greet Master Go, a Norwegian Black Templar, Murder of Crows. And well, that's it. I see a couple of bots, so I'm gonna ignore those.
Yeah,
I'm over on Kick. That's where the robots are. But the clankers are welcome to join the stream as well. I'm not gonna discriminate against you guys. So we know that AI is the future. All right. So anyway, we're gonna be talking about a lot today. So I don't want to belabor the point too much because there's a lot to get into. So, but first, I wanted to start with something really just small and kind of funny to me. So I'm in a Dark Souls Discord server because I'm love the From Software games, all the Souls games, Bloodborne, Sekiro, Elden Ring. I think they're all great. So I'm in the server because sometimes I just want to see there's modders in there and there's other things that are kind of interesting. And then I saw this post, and I think this is one of the mods, and this is not a commentary on From Software or the Souls series or any of these other things, but more a commentary on let's say the communities that tend to infest, these people that tend to infest these areas. So this is a post by someone named Karula, I guess. I don't know. Basedborn in quotes. Yeah, right. Addressing the recent rise of 4chan Chad language. We're putting a blanket statement out that words like foid or other derivatives of language from that subculture are not welcome in DSD, which I think stands for Dark Souls Discord. These words and terms are specially designed and used to demean, insult, or otherwise create social divide. Please use common sense in your wording and phrasing. Thanks for your attention. Something a foid would say.
Exactly. That's what... If you wouldn't have said it, I would have.
I mean, guys, what are we doing? Why? I'm just annoyed with this, but I thought I would share. Just to let you guys know that these creatures, they're everywhere, and we don't have to put up with it. I don't think this went over very well, but if you look here, you got these are reaction emojis. Some of them are really random. There's Greek flags,
right?
Palestine flags. Okay, I think I know where that's going.
Yep.
But but there are some downvotes too, and but I don't know, like it's just I think these people do that for attention because they know it like upsets people when you finger wag them. But yeah, this is that was just cringe. I wanted to share, so I saw it. Now you have to see it. Okay. So we're gonna move on to the next story. I want to like put this first up front.
Indeed.
We lost an absolute legend, and I got to cover that. So we're gonna talk a little bit about Chuck Norris. So legendary martial artist, actor, and internet icon Chuck Norris passed away on March 19th, 2026 at the age of 86 following a sudden medical emergency in Hawaii. His family confirmed the news the following day via a heartfelt statement on social media, describing his death as peaceful and noting that he was surrounded by loved ones. Known for his 6-time World Karate Championship, action films like The Delta Force and Missing in Action, and his long-running TV series Walker, Texas Ranger, Norris became a cultural tough guy symbol whose rugged persona inspired widespread adoration. In the wake of his passing, fans flooded social media with tributes, and that they were, obviously laced with classic Chuck Norris facts, which, I knew that was coming. But no, the guy was very humble. He was very good at what he did. I think he was pretty good friends with Bruce Lee and others in the business. And I recall, this is a thing that's important that a lot of people don't bring up. The media loves to like create, like tensions between people, right? The groups of people, celebrities and other celebrities. And Chuck Norris would often get approached in interviews, and they would ask him for his thoughts on other, sort of like action stars that do martial arts, like Jean-Claude Van Damme, or even Steven Seagal, who's probably about as, fake as a $3 bill, but nonetheless, he had like popular movies for the time. And Chuck Norris never insulted anyone. He was always very complimentary. He would avoid that like all the time. And I assume a lot of it had to do with his martial arts training, because it's more, it's not just like training your physical body, but it's also like, your behavior, the way that you view the world in terms of like, they're almost like a Buddhist sort of way. But yeah, he was always a good dude. And plus, I understand that he killed 2 stones with 1 bird. Well, just something I heard. So, but what do you think about Chuck Norris?
Yeah, we covered this for a little bit yesterday on Will's channel, obviously. And it's unfortunate, but it's one of those things that no one gets out of this situation alive. So we do know for a fact, without just his conduct in general, that Chuck Norris was indeed just a regular. Well, he wasn't just a regular man, but he was one of the best amongst us.
Perhaps mortal.
Right, but yes. At least if nothing else, like he
got permission from death.
Right. right. But yeah, no, it was an unfortunate thing. But I've seen a lot of outpouring of people. Really, no one has anything bad to say about Chuck Norris. I think if you have anything terrible to say about the life that Chuck Norris lived and the way that he approached it, probably reveals more about you than says anything about him. And yeah, we lost another good one. It's kind of like back when I guess David Bowie died. You just can't really think of a world without certain cultural icons and
that was a big one. David Bowie.
Yeah, world certainly hasn't been the same since Bowie's been gone. So so this is an interesting situation. We'll see how what it means for the world at large. But
one of the actors from Buffy the Vampire Slayer passed away too.
Yeah,
I never watched that show, so I don't mean to be like sort of, I'm not cruel, I guess. I don't want to say that, but like Nicholas Brandon, I think he was on Buffy the Vampire Slayer. He passed away at like 54.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was all sad. Normally these things happen in threes, right? So, we got Chuck Norris and then Nick Brendan. So who's the third one going to be? That's like, that's the question.
I guess we'll know within a matter of days, unfortunately. But yeah, that is generally.
I wonder if here's another thing too. I'm sorry to cut you off.
No,
I wonder if Chuck Norris is going to get it in, like mentioned in the in memorandum section of the Oscars, because there were a few people that got left out like this year. I didn't watch the Oscars because fuck that show, but there were people who were left out of it, and it was said. I remember I have this meme I'm going to share with you guys really quick. That goes like this. Variety. Chuck Norris was a great action star, but politics may overshadow his legacy.
Oh, Gil.
Of course, this was community noted with the comment, eat shit.
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh gosh. Yeah, I know. I see the bot on Rumble. I'll block it, I guess. There we go.
Yep.
All right. So So R.I.P. to Chuck Norris in all seriousness. And I think he's still has a bright future as God's bodyguard. So for those of you guys who are watching, if you want to drop your hottest Chuck Norris memes, Chuck Norris facts in the comments, I'll read them throughout the show because I'm looking forward to checking that out. Let's see. Some of the people already said some things.
Yep.
Norwegian Black Templar says they say Chuck Norris went to hell so he could roundhouse kick the devil.
Straight out of Broforce.
Yeah, right. Saltpeter Taffy says Chuck Norris once visited the Virgin Islands. Now they're just known as the Islands. Norwegian says his work on Earth was finally done. Yeah. I've never, I gotta watch Missing in Action and Delta Force. I don't think I've ever seen those movies.
God, I mean, probably like since sometime in the 80s, early 90s, the last time since I saw those. So yeah,
I remember the Octagon. Wasn't he in that? I can't that was the one with the ninjas.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was big into ninja movies in the 80s, so sue me. But yeah, so anyway, thank you for your service, Chuck Norris, and we will miss you. I mean, he was getting up there. It was sort of inevitable. It's not as tragic when someone who's very old passes because you kind of like know it's coming. You know, like any minute now we're gonna hear about Bruce Willis. That might be the third one.
All right.
That might be, and it's sad, but it's nobody gets out of this thing alive. So
yeah, unfortunately, with his rate of decline, that is kind of one of those things. It's kind of and I know with Chuck with Bruce Willis specifically, he's catatonic state basically. He can't really speak. Hasn't been able to for quite some time. So kind of
he doesn't recognize his family.
Right. My dad went through that at the end of his life, and so sometimes it's even though it's still annoying and it's tragic, sometimes you just kind of have to look at the positive of people being released from the torture that they're probably caught up in. Like, just then again, at the end of his life, my dad was probably one of the happiest people in the world. Just hand him a can of soda and he was like smile and like because it's like sugar. In many ways he was kind of like back at like a baby state. He's wearing diapers and couldn't eat, and just was happy to see people. So yeah, but as you said, we're all in this situation called life, and the thing that makes it that is not necessarily the living, but the completion of the journey and on to the next thing wherever it leads. So.
That's right. Yep. Death is but another path, one that we all must take, as Gandalf said. All right, so let us move on to the next story, but let us know what you guys think about this one in the comments. All right, let's go to Afro-man. All right, so this was probably the funniest trial I've ever heard of, like the most hilarious. Right. The recent trial involving rapper Afro-man, his real name is Joseph Foreman, stemmed from a 2022 no-knock raid on his Ohio home by Adams County Sheriff's deputies. who are investigating unfounded claims of drug trafficking and kidnapping. No charges were ever filed. In response, Afro-Man uses home security footage in viral music videos like Lemon Pound Cake and others, where he mocked the officers with explicit satirical lyrics and imagery, turning the incident into artistic commentary on the raid's destructiveness and overreach. In March of 2026, 7 deputies sued Afro-Man in a civil defamation and invasion of privacy lawsuit, seeking nearly $4 million in damages for alleged emotional distress, reputational harm, and humiliation from the videos and related social media posts. God, you think women filed those lawsuits, but they were men, actually. They were men, as far as I can tell. We'll have to see what they identify as. After a brief 3-day trial that highlighted First Amendment protections for artistic expression and public criticism of officials, an Ohio jury deliberated for about 6 hours and ruled unanimously in Afro-Man's favor on all counts on March 18th, finding no liability for defamation or related claims. Afro-Man celebrated the verdict outside the courthouse, shouting, "We did it, America!" Freedom of speech. He actually credited the United States for this. He said, "This is a victory for America, not for me." And yeah, I mean, from what I heard, it was, well, there was one lesbian. Okay, that makes sense. From what I heard, it was quite funny. Like the actual, in the courtroom, they had to watch his music videos. And one of them, I forget what it's called, but one of them is, I think it's like lower licking low or something. Like it's obviously, you know, a little bit profane, but that video is like 13 minutes. It's a 13-minute song that he made. And I think it's like the best way to respond to these things, right? Like some people, I'm not gonna like point any fingers or anything, but they might say, I don't know, charge at a cop with a gun, or maybe they'll like try to put their body between a vehicle and, like, you know, where they're going, or maybe they'll try to I don't know, run or basically attack them, pull a gun on them, or whatever. And Afro-Man didn't do any of those things. He just made fun of them with a music video, and they tried to. One of the cops, I don't know if you followed this, but I just saw like a few things from it.
Yeah.
One of the cops was upset because Afro-Man in his music video made lyrics saying that he is like sleeping with this guy's wife, right, or would sleep with his wife, and the cop was trying to make the case that like that, like, you know, that there was something about that was like, you know, actually dangerous. He's like, no, he didn't do it. He's saying he would do it, you know. And he's like, well, I don't know that. And it's like, well, you don't know your wife then?
Right.
What? Anyway, Lick 'em Low Lisa, thank you. Like pizza, that's right. Lick 'em Low Lisa, that was it. Dude made Lick 'em Low Lisa Phillips famous. Anyway, John, what do you think about this?
Oh, I thought this was kind of the sunshine that the world needs right now, for where like the cultural climate is. It was good to be reminded that yes, you know, we still do have a constitution. The First Amendment does still matter, and you know, as important as it is to not try to demonize police in the broad sense, unfortunately, there are quite a few corrupt, you know, officers out there, or full-blown departments and things like that. So, you know, this is what our country was basically kind of founded on, was the idea that, you know, you don't want to be bullied around and have people just coming into your house and, you know, just doing as they feel, and then leaving you with all the damages. And then when you go to speak out against it, they try to silence you, criticize you, censor you, and, you know, just take away your actual liberties and freedoms. Because again, you know, like, public representatives are supposed to represent the public, and they're the ones that are supposed to be held to accountability, whereas private citizens are supposed to retain their privacy rights, which is the whole founding of this nation, which is why it's important to you know, support the postal service and things like that. Because, you know, like, if it weren't for those things, you know, our country would never have really gotten off the ground. Because you know, it's it is institutional to who we are as people, that that you can actually still have the ability to redress your grievances and hold the government accountable for its actions and its misdeeds, because otherwise you end up with the broader circus of government antics and shenanigans that we see today. So hopefully, this is kind of a sign that at least we, the people, still have common sense and discernment in matters where, a court can be involved. And this wasn't just some, judge's decree that goes to stifle any more freedoms and liberties than have already been kind of impacted in recent decades. So, yeah, I thought this whole thing was absolutely wonderful. The music video that came out from this,
Lisa.
That, yeah, and then I think he did another one.
He did another one.
Yeah, because that was that was where I sourced the image from for today's thumbnail.
Well, he wore that suit at the trial.
Yeah.
It was like an American flag suit. And yeah, he basically used the whole thing to make his statement, which I gotta say, that's how you do it, like you said, and it doesn't. And the thing is, I think in a lot of ways, this is a really great and indicative example of what is aspirational about the United States in every way. So yes, obviously corrupt police exist, just like any other arm of the government, or even on the it's a human failing, right? It's a human failing. Now, you could say that it's exceptional because, police have authority. They have the ability to enforce the law, which is true. But yeah, I mean, he didn't, like I said, he didn't act foolishly. He didn't charge them. He didn't go crazy. He just said, okay, we're going to do this legally. And this is what I always, whenever you see cam footage or like body cam footage of somebody being killed by cops, which is probably the greatest thing that BLM has ever done, is basically made that mandatory, because now we're seeing the world for what it is, which is most of the time, if not every time, the people who get shot, they deserve it because of the way they act. They become, violent. They basically threaten the lives of officers. But we've been saying for a long time, if you have a gripe, if you think that your rights are being violated, then you should do this in a legal way. You should become litigious and then do it that way. Right. And he did that. No one, this is why I'm saying it's a good example. Another thing is, it also sort of disproves the idea that cops are just going around hunting down black people and killing them, because if they were, he wouldn't be able to go to trial, because they would have done that. So obviously they also went along with the system and just let things play out, instead of planting a gun on him and then killing him or whatever. Right. So, I think that this is it should cause people to think critically about the whole thing, no matter where your bias is at, so you can get a sense of the way that things should go, even when we have like I said, clear violations of people's due process rights, which does happen, because it's one of the things that I talk about over on HBR. So it's great how everything unfolded, because it was sort of showing, oh yeah, these things can work out. So and what was I was going to say on top of that? Yeah, it was he used this to make a large statement. I think this is the most press this guy's ever gotten, probably, despite the fact that he's been making music forever.
Right. Yeah, this is the most notoriety that I've even more so.
He's a very patriotic guy too. He is a very patriotic guy, which I also commend, because I can see how someone can become I don't know, disenchanted with the United States, but he didn't. He understood this was a human failing, and so he worked within that system to uncover that.
Yeah, no, I would say, because I know that he's existed since then, but the last time he had this much kind of press on anything was when he put out because I got high. Yeah, and that was 25 years ago now.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I remember he made an appearance on Steven Crowder's show once. Right. He was a guest on there. So, but that was a long time ago too. But yeah, I think it's great, and everything about this is the most legendary trial, I think. Right up there with Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, right? like there's probably gonna be lots of memes on it, and I look forward to that stuff. So, all right, let me see what you guys are saying, and then we're gonna move on. Saltpeter Taffy says Afro-Man wore that U.S. flag suit to the stand. The man was making a work of art out of that trial.
Yeah.
Norwegian says, for once, I have to defend the anti-ICE protesters. Making fun of officials is fair game so long as you're not obstructing them or threatening them. Well, Afro-Man's not anti-ICE. He's definitely pro-ICE. He's definitely pro like deportations. He's a patriot, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think the problem with anti-ICE protesters is that like they are more likely to get violent and try to obstruct in a way that is harmful, you know, not just like with their words. Yeah. Which is what like Afro-Man made a song. That's how you do it. He even said that on the stand, right? Mm-hmm. Like this is my way of fighting back, is I make music. And I think that makes sense.
Right.
It's a really good statement.
Yeah, and that's that whole thing about you have you know, the freedom and liberty to speak however you want, but once you impart violence upon someone, then you have violated their civil liberties. And so yeah, like you could say all kinds of stuff, and that's the thing. We're a nation of shit talkers, and that's the thing. Absolutely. Is we always need to be able to have the ability to redress our grievances, and people just have to understand I'm going to say some things sometimes that will offend you, and that's the point. Is, you know, like, and you just have to deal with that however you do. Doesn't mean that you get to censor me and shut me down and have all this ability, because that is even just a more manifested action towards the person that you're already, you know, like what you've done to cause someone to say something to you. Maybe reflect on that before you go and raise the stakes and say, well, now that I've already done all this, whatever, and now you're going to say something about it. Well, I'm going to take these actions, make sure you can't do that again. That is pure beta bitch made, kind of behavior that just cannot be the way that we allow things to be normalized. And so this was a great victory, as he said, for Americans, and just a reminder of the way that the system is supposed to work. So, you know, like this was, absolute perfection. Flawless victory.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let me see what else you guys are saying here. Murder of Crows says she must have really liked the song because she cried the whole time it played in court. It must have been tears of joy. Lemon pound cake, yes.
Yeah.
NovaFan21 gives a Rumble rant for $1. Thank you. And he says, Afro-Man basically made a Tupac reference. You claim to be a playa, but I effed your wife, Pop, and I took that personally. Yes. Yeah, I know. No, I saw that reaction. I was like, dude, like, do you think your wife is she that volatile that she'll be like, well, I had a song sung about me, I'm gonna go fuck that guy? Like, if that's something you're concerned with, then you have bigger problems than this guy, right?
All right.
I think that you need to like check on your bitch. All right. I think this could be a unifying moment for Americans, the ones who aren't complete ideologues anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that we're not as divided as people want us to think. I think that there's a lot of terminally online J-brain people that think that America's like completely imploding. But if you like, I don't know, if you live here and you basically just go outside, you will find that I think that we're mostly on the same page still, you know, despite like the best efforts of many to continue to divide us, which is what the left is basically made into a career. But I think that people are, I'm not going to say woke is dead. I think that's stupid, but I think that people are really like, you know, not putting up with this as much anymore. And I'm going to get into a couple of little examples as to why, because I got more stories to go through here. So,
But I just to add to that, I think that there is a loud contingent of, the spurious amongst us, but they certainly don't represent the majority of Americans. They just tend to, as you say, they collect online so that, I guess in some ways they're trying to redress their grievances. And if they just left it to that, then it wouldn't be so much of a thing, because, say whatever you want. And if I get a little bit felted by it, well, I guess that's on me. The way that, they tend to just kind of amplify the violence and make that part of it, and then try to say, oh, well, you have to say all these things that I'm cool with, and if you don't, I'm going to attack you. That does tend to kind of come a little bit more from one side than the other, but both sides definitely do have pockets of miscreants and troglodytes that just kind of make this whole thing a little bit more difficult for everybody else who's actually just trying to be a good American and get through their life, and actually just just have some semblance of peace and privacy, and just wants to have.
Most people just want to be left alone, and they want to basically raise their family or their kids and all that, just normal stuff, have their job. All right, so let's see what you guys are saying, and then we're going to move on to the next story. But let me know what you think about the Afro-Man trial. Is there something I left out that I didn't know about that you thought was extra funny? Let me know in the comments. So let's see. Murder Crow says Grammy Award winner 2. I didn't know that he won a Grammy. Was it for the Because I Got High song? That's interesting. Norwegian Black Templar says Chuck Norris once traveled back in time to fight Chuck Norris, but then he realized you do not fight Chuck Norris. Then they shook hands and the space-time continuum imploded.
Maybe that's why things are the way they are.
Robert Johnson says the urban areas of America attract all the media attention. Afro-Man is a role guy. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, a lot of like weed smoking libertarian types live in the rural parts. Who'd have thunk it? All right, well, let us know what you guys think about this one in the comments. We're going to move on to the next story. So we got Jeff Kaplan in the news. Jeff Kaplan is the former lead director of Overwatch over at Blizzard. So he doesn't work there anymore, but he made several notable statements addressing gamer criticism over the years, often in the context of toxic community behavior or unconstructive feedback, whatever that means. In a 2017 forum post, he described how developers felt intimidated by hostile and threatening responses on forums when addressing player concerns, stating that while most of the community was positive, some were pretty mean, and that engaging felt like there is no winning due to personal attacks on visible developers. But more recently, and this is the purpose of this, so he has a pattern of this behavior, but on a March 2026 Twitch live stream for his new project, The Legend of California, Kaplan went viral for bluntly criticizing gamers who complain about games they never played or have no intention of playing. He said, quote, "If a game comes out and you don't want to play it and you've never played it, shut the fuck up. No one cares," end quote. Emphasizing that such opinions are ignored by developers because they lack relevance or experience with the title. He added that voicing outrage over the games one isn't interested in accomplishes nothing except getting dismissed, framing it as part of a broader toxic online discourse in gaming. Well, that seems like a bold strategy, Cotton. I hope it works out for him.
Right. And, it also seems like a little bit of hypocrisy as well, because if people are irrelevant, why are you commenting on it? Also, if you're going to sit here and try to pull the moral, ethical imperative of do better, Senator, telling people to fuck off probably kind of undercuts the whole thrust of your statement and kind of exposes the legitimate motivation, which is you trying to proctor everybody, and it's time for everybody to get the message, get the lesson, and you got to do it this way, because how dare anybody look at something and have an opinion. Here's the thing that I mentioned the other day about this when we were talking about it earlier in the week. If people want to actually have an opinion on something, that's human nature. That goes back to before we probably even had a written language, right? And so this whole conceit that somehow people only started having these bad take opinions, or what the hell ever they want to try to call them, on the internet, and this is something that just manifested in recent times, is complete and utter misnomer. People have constantly, this is the whole reason on why you actually have to court your customers, rather than just try to create these top-down models of compliance and just go along with it, consumerism. And because this is kind of what we were just talking about. This is our way of redressing the situation. and we can speak about this stuff however we want. And a lot of this speak about it vocally. And then that helps kind of manifest people that are along the same mindset to say, you know what? I am going to actually speak with my wallet. And I'm going to make it easier for other people who are also kind of on the fence about such things that, it's like, no, even if it's using the skin suit of something that you love doesn't mean that it gets the, free pass to just go and pervert itself because of the people that are supposed to be stewarding it. And even if it's a new property and it's completely full of a whole bunch of stupid bullshit that a lot of people really aren't down for, they're going to comment on it. They're going to critique it. And, in wrestling, any reaction is beneficial if you know how to utilize it. But if you're getting no reaction whatsoever, that's just apathy. And so when they sit here and they complain about the negativity that's coming their way, that's probably the only way people would even pay attention to a lot of the shit that you're doing, because these things that you make, you're either doing it for an audience that doesn't exist and the sales numbers are just never going to be there to begin with, or you're trying to undermine and subvert something that has had a long-standing kind of purpose behind it to begin with, and you're undercutting all of that, which tends to kind of get to people because it is, we see enough of this corruption in the world around us at large. And you'd like to think that works of fiction kind of be a little bit more, I guess, closed off from that level of, oh, well, we'll just go and change the meaning of everything that and then that means that you'll just go along with it because you just believe in brandings and labels and this and that, and as long as I use the right magic words, I can make you commit to anything. That's not how any of this works, and we do Wanker of the Week over on Will's. This guy, he managed to win, and there was a day in between the votes because we were kind of going long, so we split up into two parts because we were having weird tech issues on Thursday, continued into yesterday for me. But this Jeff Kaplan has done himself no favors and his own game, which was all the more interesting when he was giving this little diatribe because he was showing off the work in progress that he has going. And so again, way to kind of undermine your own intention to actively court people who might take an interest in the thing that you're doing, because now anybody that was kind of on the fence about it is going to be like, is this really somebody that I want to support? And it's just, I'm sure your new game plays well in certain ways mechanically and whatnot, but probably not a lot of people that are going to want to support you in your bad faith effort and your take on how you view people who actually play games, considering that you're in the business of making games for people to play. Just, it is what it is,
Yep. Well, yeah, I mean, this could just be him making these kinds of statements to create buzz so that people talk about his upcoming game.
Right.
But I don't think it's going to work out for him because I don't think he's realized that this stuff doesn't work. It doesn't seem to be as effective. I don't think this game's going to do very well. Plus, the games market is so saturated at this point that a lot of games that people would say should have been hits or should be hits are coming out and they're not doing as well, like either because of bad timing, bad marketing, or just couldn't stand out in some way because a lot of them are just following a trend. I don't know what this what is this game called again? I don't even
something
Legend of California. I don't even know what that is. Like, I don't know like what it's about or anything. So
it's some kind of cowboy game. I only know that because in the clip he's riding around in a wagon.
Yeah. Okay, that was the gameplay footage that was playing. I thought it was like Red Dead Redemption 2 from first person perspective, honestly. Because you can do, I think you can play that game in first person, or at least change the camera that way. So yeah, again, that doesn't, I mean, I don't know how that's gonna stand out. Like, I literally thought it was Red Dead. So I don't know. I mean, this is, I don't think it's gonna work out for him. And yeah, I mean, like, I've heard this kind of rhetoric so many times from devs that all the time, from devs, from journalists, and from like these sort of like I I don't know, like these culture junkie type fans that just like their product, right? They'll defend it no matter what. They'll say, well, I like Star Wars now, or insert whatever property here. And if you don't like it, then that means you're not really a fan. It's like, no, actually, you're just addicted to crap because you want to keep getting the product, and you're not willing to say, well, actually, does this thing reflect what I fell in love with or not, right? Because I mean, that's just what it is. That's the question you ask. So I've heard this so many times. I'm kind of immune, but I thought I would like let you guys know that Jeff Kaplan has an opinion,
right?
And I'm gonna dismiss it because whatever. But yeah, so let's see what Mr. 0303 says. Heal developers usually change companies soon. Prize in bag. Well, he's no longer with Blizzard. He's like on his own now. So I wonder if he got like Me Too'd, and that's like, but he hasn't quite realized why that happened.
Right.
Norwegian says, what's that? You want us to ignore your games even harder? Yeah, I didn't even know it existed. Now I really don't know it exists. I really don't want to know either. So, okay, thanks for that, Jeff. Appreciate it. We're gonna move on now. Okay, so let's talk about Marvel Rivals, because there's something that happened that I thought was really interesting. So they made a new announcement that they're going to be bringing Black Cat to the game. Now, Black Cat has always been a really popular Spider-Man, like part of Spider-Man's Rogues Gallery, in the same way that Catwoman is for Batman. That's what she is. It's basically just Catwoman for Marvel. I mean, that's okay. It's fine. Like, I don't expect people to be original all the time, but Black Cat is very much liked, and one of the things that makes her appealing is that she is kind of a femme fatale character that is intentionally sexy. That's the point, right? She's supposed to tempt Peter Parker all the time. They have like this, it's the same kind of relationship Batman has with Catwoman, where he has to like bring her in, but he finds her appealing, or whatever it is, and for some reason, let me read what I have here. So Marvel Rivals, the hero shooter developed by NetEase, recently announced Season 7, introducing White Fox and Black Cat. The reveal trailer showcased their designs, with White Fox praised by many for a sick or cool look that's faithful to her comic origins, while Black Cat's appearance, emphasizing her classic seductive form-fitting cat suit, drew significant attention and mixed reactions. Some fans highlighted potential queer undertones given Black Cat's canonical bisexuality, which was more of a recent thing, by the way, and trailer moments suggesting chemistry between the two, tying into prior teases of Season 7 being the gayest yet. Yes, this is what The Gamer claimed. So this is from The Gamer. Unless we're all getting queer baited, it sounds like Marvel Rivals is finally getting some more LGBTQ plus rep. But that doesn't seem to be the case. Okay.
Right.
So, I just wanted to let me just check here. It was a Miller. I'm not sorry. It was a rumor put out by Marvel Rivals content creator and insider Miller Ross. He teased in late February that Season 7 would be the gayest season yet in the game. He made the comment during a stream or update discussion, saying something along the lines of it being the gayest, but withholding details until the characters were revealed. So I guess they're trying to suggest that this is like what that's going to be. But the thing is, the wokies are not happy. The wokies are not happy because Black Cat doesn't look like this. So here's a side-by-side comparison. Western developer at the top, Eastern developer at the bottom. You can see the difference. So the problem is not like whether or not she's bisexual. I don't think she will be. I think that because it's a Chinese company, they're either going to avoid references to that altogether because they don't play that shit over there, or it's going to be very, very subtle, if anything. But the truth is that Black Cat was only made sort of bisexual, like because of the Marvel Spider-Man 2. In the comics, she was never bi. In the comics, she was never bi. They just did that in Spider-Man 2 because Spider-Man 2 got the Sweet Baby Inc. treatment. And I think that's why they did that. I don't even think that she was like that in the Spider-Man 1 DLC, which I didn't buy, but I did have the game,
Right.
and so they're basically really upset. But what really pisses them off is not that the bisexuality might not actually be represented at all, because it's just like a hero shooter, and so you're not really going to explore it through anything except maybe little dialogue, interactions. But because the woman looks too good, because men like the way she looks, because men might find it appealing. They're calling it male gazy. So let me. Do you guys know what the male gaze is? I'm gonna presume that you do.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. Okay.
I think amongst this crowd, yeah. It's got to be. But I'll let you continue your point before I say anything.
Yeah. So. So they're saying that then this is not just like randos on X. This is like game journos and people and like pretty, I guess, big streamers. I guess they are criticizing her for being over sexualized or catering to the male gaze, which complaints focusing on camera angles in the trailer, emphasizing her curves, butts, and boobs more prominently than in prior reveals like Daredevil and Angela. On platforms like Reddit, of course it's Reddit, YouTube, and X, detractors calling it objectifying or gooner bait, while defenders argue Black Cat's female femme fatale persona has always been inherently sexy in comics, because that's like the thing, that was where her power was at in a way. Like it was like her sex appeal is one of the strengths of the character itself, right?
Yeah. It's disarming.
They were going for lore accurate designs, which it's close. I'd say it's much better than the Spider-Man 2 design.
Clearly.
Oh, yeah, it's much better. So, okay. The backlash was also framed as coming from a loud minority or modern audience upset over attractive female characters, with counterpoints noting the game's history of well-endowed designs like Invisible Woman and Emma Frost, and Rogue. Like all the women in that game look good, and broader debates on hypersexualization in games. Remember Leon Kennedy? I just covered that.
Right.
All right. Anyway, so they're mad, and I thought it's worth to look at. But let me just give you guys Black Cat again. So
indeed,
John, did you know about this already, or?
This is kind of the first I'm hearing about this instance specifically, but I know the last season, their whole thing was Venom's gay. And here's the thing about all this.
Venom is gay now?
Well, that's what they were trying to say, because they had a candy cane lane. It was Christmas time, and so that came out, and it was about him. Basically, it was either Christmas time or Halloween, but there was one previous to this, and they had a version of Venom that was made out of candy canes, gumdrops, and all this kind of stuff, and they tried to claim that this was some big gender queer character, and it was like, no, it's a trolling character. We used to teabag each other on the Battlefield games. He was in a tutu and this and that, and the color was kind of pink.
That was a bit weird, but I think it was trolly
design, right.
Yeah.
And that was the whole purpose behind it. And this, ultimately, for all these weird fuckers who are all like, oh, this game is about genderqueer relationships, and I feel so identified. No, it's an arena fighting game, for fuck's sake. None of that matters. Just play the fucking game for what it is, and you want to have your little weird fan fiction fucking bullshit over here in your free time? Fine, but that's just the way that you look at this, and you're trying to project your shit into something that is ultimately, at the end of the day, an arena battle game. That's it. It is just tiresome. I could use the Green Mile meme. I'm tired.
I'm tired, boss.
Right, this shit all again. Like it never fucking ends. And yeah, if you want to sit here and act like a woman being in tight, seductive clothing is simultaneously terrible, but also reinforcing your weird LGBTQ fucking agenda movements. What is it? What is it? So only straight women can be frumpy, and the only way that you can have a good looking woman is to have her be of some kind of questionable sexual orientation. It's like whatever. Whatever your shit is, that's your shit. And the rest of us are just out here just like, you know, wanting to have games that actually look like the characters that we remember growing up. And now that we have the technology to kind of make a lot of these things a little bit more accessible, that's all this is about showing appropriate respect to the artwork and the things like that preceded it, and not trying to, you know, highlight any kind of specific group. That's just shit that people bring into it because they're too demented to understand that fiction is fiction, and not everything has to be about something other than just entertainment, you know?
Yeah, well, the male gaze is just some like academic feminist crap that essentially like is being used as the tool to destroy our media. Like, but ultimately these people, they have two conditions that they're trying to get to, and both of them are a win for them. They either want to change something to be more Marxist or feminist or whatever, woke. They want to make it woke, which means nobody wants it except them, or they want to destroy it if they can't make it woke. So Spider-Man 2, I think, destroyed the franchise. Like, it was like, you know, even if there were still some people who are like willing to overlook all of its flaws, I don't think we're going to get another one of those games. I don't think it's going to happen because it just nobody wanted the way that the path they took. And I mean, it's sad because they were onto something in almost every other way in terms of mechanics and gameplay and stuff. The first game was great. I played it, but I didn't get any of the DLC for it because I didn't like the designs. That was literally why. Like, some of the designs in the main game I didn't care for. Like, I didn't like bald-headed Dr. Octopus. I wanted the bowl cut. Like, that was, to me, that was crucial. I wanted the bowl cut. But I didn't get that, you know? And but then when I saw, I think the first DLC had Silver Sable in it, who was also you know, like supposed to be an extremely attractive woman that wears a skin-tight silver outfit. And I didn't like her look. It was like very toned down. I didn't like Mary Jane in the game, like the Mary Jane sections. There was things I didn't like, but the second one, they just went like all in. And I don't know if Sweet Baby was involved in the first game. Maybe not as much. Maybe they were. But I think that definitely they were involved in the second one.
Oh, most definitely the second one. Yeah. They were very much. They had that. The second game was one of their banner items they used to have. Yeah,
that was like one of their big claims to fame. Yeah. And the thing is too is that like ultimately, if they can't change it to match what they want, then they'll just destroy it. And the male gaze, the reason why they don't like this, because they could like literally have Black Cat be a lesbian. I don't think that NetEase is going to do that, but they could outright do that, but it wouldn't matter because the problem is not her sexuality for these people. The problem is that men like that. That's it. That's it. Men like it. That's the problem. It's like, you know, like lesbians in real life are not like lesbians in porn. Right.
Very
men
much
like lesbians in porn. So when you know, that's why they can get into that. Okay. But lesbians in real life hate lesbians in porn because that's not them. So they will hate on this too because they don't like whatever men like. That's all it is. Like if men like it, they don't like it. So that's what their problem is with this. That's basically it. That's all it is. So, and I don't think that they will lean into that. I mean, like you said, it's just a hero shooter. There's no way you could really do it anyway. But I don't think that they should anyway. I wouldn't give these people the satisfaction at all. So anyway, that's it. I just wanted to share my thoughts on the Black Cat thing. That was interesting, and I hope that. And look, if it takes a Chinese company to constantly show everybody else how you do things right, it might be the only way Western developers will be like, you know what, we're gonna have to be pragmatic and scale things back so we can make money and like lean into the audience that actually gives us money. Like that's actually our audience. And I'm gonna get into the next story, which is about just that in just a moment. But first, let me look at your guys' comments. All right, so Mr. 0303 says, yeah, the Shy Comms want to sell skins. Yes, they do. Although I have yet to spend a cent on anything, but yeah, they do. Then he says, it's like that one interviewer who always says that the latest movie is the gayest ever and that MAGA is upset. Yeah, that guy is really gay too. He's like on fire, dude. And they keep giving him work. He's on every red carpet. He's like, "Oh, have you heard? I think MAGA's mad that this movie exists." Nobody cares. Like, literally, look at your box office numbers and get back to me. Nobody cares. And Mr. 303 says that DLC was awful. Black Cat lies about baby trapping Peter. Yeah, that sounds awful. Yeah. I didn't get it. Master Goa says, I remember there was a Spider-Man arcade game with Black Cat. Is that the one that had Submariner in it and they were all like tall and skinny for some reason? And they were like, it was like a beat 'em up, like a side-scrolling beat 'em up. That was a weird looking game. Mm-hmm. Master Goa says, I use the power of my male gaze for the greater good. Norwegian Black Templar says, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League only has 172 people playing. How is that number not 0? Murder Crow says Black Cat infinite cleavage. Thank goodness Sweet Baby didn't get their grimy paws on Sifu's development. Oh yeah, well the thing is Sifu was an unknown game by an unknown developer. These people only get their claws into stuff that's popular, right? Because they want that's the stuff they want to go after. So they don't pay attention to little projects, right? Because they know projects don't have their own problems with woke, because a lot of them do, but yeah, but like people like Sweet Baby and shit, they don't really tend to notice those things. They're like under their radar, right?
Because on a certain level, they know full well, because this is the thing that we always say is like, look, you want to make your gay parade titles, go for it, see what happens, and they know what happens. They don't sell, at all. And so instead they're just like, well, how do we go and put our message inside things that do sell, and then maybe we can actually subvert some people and it's all just very, very measured, and they very much want to take things that already exist. It's kind of like siphoning heat. It's like, oh, people like this. Well, then, like, if I associate myself with it, well, people will really like my message because they're, that fucking much of a simpering idiot that is just, completely led around by the nose. And it is some of the most condescending shit that goes on, because it shows no respect to your audience when you sit here and think that you can just get stuff over on them, and then when there is someone out there that heckles you and detracts, you go and say, shut that man down, because I can't have people. This is like the little kid who says he's naked when the emperor is wearing no clothes, obviously. Mm-hmm. and that is this whole situation. Is we're just those people that are pointing out, by the way, this is pretty bare ass fucking naked in terms of its intent, and we can all see it for what it truly is. But are you going to sit here and be complicit in going along with the lie because it makes the emperor, the message, happy? Or are you actually going to be based in reality and say, put on some fucking clothes, for fuck's sake?
Yep. Yep.
Have some decency.
Mr. 033 says fantasy lesbians are immersion breaking. That reminds me. I'm like on my own time. I'm playing Baldur's Gate 3 because I've been meaning to just play it. And I got to a point in the game where I'm gonna finish it anyway. But some of the stuff these guys are doing with the story, it's really subversive, and I'm surprised that a lot of people didn't catch it. And I know I've said this before, but I rescued an Aasimar. So no jokes. It's not a reference to ass. But if you guys don't know what an Aasimar is in the Dungeons and Dragons setting, Aasimars are like tieflings. So tieflings are like, they're like humanoids that have a little bit of demonic or devilish blood in them. So they have they're like a little bit of a demon in a person. So they may have horns and red skin or something like that, but they're like people nonetheless, right? So it's like a race, a fantasy race. That's like not half demon, but very like a small bit of demon blood in their lineage. And Aasimars on the other side of that, they have a little bit of angelic blood in their lineage. So they're like part angel, right? Right. And I rescued one, and this was like a paladin angel. Her name was Night Song. She has like wings, and she's like super like paladin-like, right? Very heroic. And I thought, oh, very cool. She even looked like the appearance was kind of cool because it was like she looked like a marble statue, with cracks in it. And I thought, oh, that's a really nice way to because if you look at, say, architecture in like a Catholic church, for example, and there's like a sculpture of an angel, it would be like made out of the same material. So I thought it was a really nice touch, aesthetically speaking. And I think that it gets a lot of that stuff right. But then after I rescued her and I took her to camp, she was ready to like sleep with like another female character. She was like, oh, I'm going to go like lay with this person. I'm like, oh my God, you made the angel a lesbian?
Right,
like,
right.
You know, it drove me up the wall. Not because I care about what people do in their bedroom. I don't care about that.
Right.
That's not what I'm talking about. But you're taking like something that symbolically represents the holiest, and you're basically bringing it down to something carnal. You're taking something out of it. It just bothered me. You know, yeah, lick 'em low, angel woman. Yeah. Lick 'em low, night song. And yeah, I thought, and it just shows like the way that these people work. It's very like, it can be really subtle, because if I said that, a lot of people say, why do you care? Right. I'd be like, but you don't see what's being chipped away at. There's like, so they're only like, it's also what they choose to do. Like when I encountered a bugbear trying to fuck an ogre in the game, it didn't bother me as much. I thought it was cringe, because it was like, okay, guys, like, you know, somebody in your office is pretty fucking perverted. It's probably one of the women that work there, because I see what they're into if you look at their fucking fiction. But I wasn't like bothered, because it was like, well, those are pretty savage creatures anyway. I could see how they'd be like, well, you got anything to do today? Nah, well, you want to fuck? You know,
right.
But an angel, like, I mean, it was like a bridge too far. I just want to throw that in there. It really bothered me. It's D&D's version of female custodies. Yeah, I guess so. Like, I also, you know, there's a lot of female characters in the game too, which also kind of is immersion breaking, because it's like, well, is that really how things would go? But again, people don't want to hear that stuff. So, all right. I just want to throw that out there. That bothered me in Baldur's Gate 3. So let's see what you guys are saying, and then we're going to move on. So, Norwegian Black Templar says, I'm fine with China beating Western devs until morale improves. Yeah, it might be what has to happen, you know? Salt Peter Taffy says, they keep giving that guy work because he's really good at extracting confessions out of celebrities. Yeah, he's really good at baiting celebrities, and they always take it. Mr. 0303 says, but BG3 is a good woke game. Well, I wouldn't recommend it to people, but I like it for the gameplay, but I'm not going to say it's not woke. I'm certainly not going to say that. It's definitely got that. It's not as bad as, say, you know, something that's more obvious. It can be subtle, but that was not subtle. That was like pretty in your face. I was like, what the fuck? But anyway, so let me know what you guys think about the black cat business in the comments. Hello, Zeranx. Welcome to the stream. We're going to move on to the next story. So speaking of gay, recent reports, primarily from conservative outlets like Light Site News, The Bridgehead, and social media shares, claim that Disney is retreating from incorporating LGBT content in its films and shows after suffering massive financial losses, often cited as around $1 billion from a handful of underperforming projects. This shift is tied to decisions at Pixar, where Chief Creative Officer, Pete Docter, told the Wall Street Journal in early March of 2026 that the studio removed implied gay elements from films like Elio, which lost over $100 million last year, after test screenings showed audiences were not receptive, particularly parents who prefer to handle such topics themselves. Fair. Docter sarcastically remarked, "We're making a movie, not hundreds of millions of dollars of therapy," and emphasized appealing to everybody rather than activist demands. Similar changes occurred in projects like Win or Lose, where trans-related storylines were cut, with Disney stating it respects parents' timelines for discussing sensitive topics with kids. The narrative portrays the pullback as pragmatic business response to box office bombs and broader backlash against woke, DEI-focused content, aligning with Disney's earlier movies like removing DEI language from its 2025 annual report and scaling back certain programs amid investor pressures and cultural shifts. However, mainstream coverage like CNN frames these as isolated creative or audience-driven decisions rather than a full retreat from LGBTQ representation, and no single source confirms a precise billion-dollar loss solely from LGBT-themed content. Figures often aggregate multiple flops. The story has circulated heavily in right-leaning circles as evidence of corporate wokeness failing financially, while critics argue it's exaggerated or part of ongoing culture war framing. And I decided this isn't just about Disney. So I decided to look and see how this is affecting other studios, because I've noticed that there has been a change in, like, you know, with companies like losing money and getting bought out by other companies, like what happened with like Warner Brothers, which is now owned by Paramount and Skydance, because they were losing money hand over fist. And it was because they had one flop after another after another. And there's a lot of like finger pointing and blaming on things. Oh, it's streaming. Oh, it's COVID. Oh, it's whatever. People are bigots. Oh, it's MAGA country. But the truth is that most people just don't want shit. Like, they just want good content. And there's almost no good content coming out of Hollywood. And in all of our cultural outlets, we're not really great at getting great music. We're not really getting great movies. We're not really getting great TV shows. We're not getting a lot of great video games, or at least not from the people we expect to
the mainstream AAA
sources. Not from the mainstream. That's what I'm saying. Like, in all those cases, I'm talking about the mainstream. I understand that new Ryan Gosling movie, Hail Mary, Project Hail Mary, is very popular right now. It sounds like it literally is a Hail Mary that they did, but I haven't seen it, so I don't know if it is good. I don't something about Ryan Gosling bothers me. I don't like him that much. I can't explain why. He seems really safe, and he's Canadian, and I'm suspicious of Canadians by nature. But yeah, but anyway, so the broader, so what okay, so the conversation around this is this something that is happening because of constant flops and the backlash, which is like the mainstream media is saying, no, they're just doing pragmatic choices. But then, like, yeah, but where's the pragmatism coming from? Because it makes sense that they're not going to be like suddenly anti-woke. But if their wallets are being hurt by this, then they're going to respond and say, okay, we got to stop doing this stuff because it's like not making us money. Well, that's the best we could ever hope for anyway, because that's like what is, you know, Gamergate, if not a consumer revolt that says, I'm not giving you money until you fix this, right? And then they say, well, we're losing money. Well, let's fix it. And then they fix it. So like, that's what the goal should be, right? So anyway, this happened with Disney Pixar, as I mentioned. They're going to be scaling back a lot of the LGBTQ elements in their movies. Paramount eliminated race and gender hiring practices and DEI language from their website. Warner Brothers Discovery rebranded DEI efforts as inclusion only and ceased external diversity surveys. Amazon Studios rolled back policies requiring diverse casting and speaking roles. Pride event sponsorships declined significantly in 2025 from all brands. MasterCard, Citibank, Pepsi, and others pulled from major parades amid economic and political caution. The LGBTQ plus media ad spend growth slowed to 2% in 2025 due to brands hesitating on DEI-related support, and companies like PBS closed DEI offices to comply with federal shifts because the government basically got rid of it, and PBS gets their money from the government. I think the same thing happened to NPR. A lot of people think NPR is independent. They're literally a government radio station. Also, nobody listens to radio except maybe your grandma. But so this is part of a broader trend. And yeah, I think they are acting on what they would call a pragmatic approach to changing things. But I think that that's the best we could hope for. And I don't need the people that work there to suddenly have my politics. I just want them to stop shoving their politics down my throat.
Right. Because that would also be just as disingenuous to sit here and just try to placate on the other side. I think that, you know, there's a certain kind of balancing point that we come to that, you know, there will always be innuendo within things and this and that. And so I think what they've done is just merely the whole 2 steps forward, 1 step back. They're like, oh, we've definitely over tightened this bolt here. Because, you know, it's just the nuts are starting to clamp down too harshly. So maybe we might want to ease up on it and give it a little bit of play so that, there is the ability to keep moving forward without this thing, like, you know, like breaking itself apart because you know, eventually the bolts will snap, so, you know, in this weird convoluted analogy that I'm making. But you know, there's always been varying viewpoints within works of fiction and things like that. You know, like if something is contextual to the character that you're writing, have your character there. You know, I'm, as people know who watch this channel, huge David Lynch fan. Absolutely love Twin Peaks, and you know, that started in the late 80s. And David Duchovny's character in there was a cross-dresser to begin with. Of course, and in The Return, they eventually just went and had that character, now at that point in time, 25 years later, saying that they were part of said communities, and that made sense to the context of the character because this character was established decades ago, you know. So I didn't really take much issue with that. But these other things that in recent years have been like, oh, well, we're gonna like take characters that you've known and completely flip the script on me. Oh, well, you never knew this about me, and all this kind of weird, stupid shit that undermined a lot of goodwill from the fans, and shown that this was not really about actually making things that were going to be profitable. Yeah, this is just a pragmatic business, you know, maneuver to try to stem the, you know, the blood flow that's happened in terms of them just bleeding out cash for, you know, throwing good money at bad ideas and then not actually getting any kind of return on it. Like there is a, you know, a risk versus reward on the, you know, return on investment aspect to all this, and they aren't getting anything but diminishing returns. And so if they want to be able to stay the cultural leaders or have these more prominent positions, then they're going to actually have to deal with the legitimate audience and try to, you know, as I said earlier, court your customer base. Don't sit here and try to assume that you can just lay out a consumer model and people will just have to, you know, eat that slop up, because we're not little piggies. You know, we're not here to be slaughtered simply because you know, you're interested in trying to get over these weird kind of you know, cultural I guess perversions that you think will make the whole situation better. You know, if you, because again, you know, you have a right to privacy, whatever the fuck you want to do in your own home and this and that, cool, whatever. And even if you want to have your like silly bullshit that you kind of take out into the world at large, perfectly fine, as long as you're not impacting on me. But the moment you start kind of sitting here and you know, telling me that I have to do certain things and this and that, you know, that undermine common sense and decency, like that's the big problem that we have with a lot of this Gamergate stuff, is the checkboxing of things. Like if you need a gay character in your game for reasons, cool, whatever. Like maybe you're telling some kind of story where that's going to actually be, you know, poignant. But this is the whole reason why I have no fucks to give for anything that Bungie puts out going forward, because the way that it went from, again, just being a game that's supposed to be about people just having, you know, a Twitch experience of shooting each other in the face and teabagging, like, you know, their downed enemies to humiliate them, to, oh, let's turn this into a whole bunch of Troon fan fiction and make a website that is seemingly, you know, not even really connected with the game, but yet it is. And then you just find out that it's all about like, what does this have to do with me firing a gun at anyone? And just it don't make no sense. But in that right, it was at least a property of its own, so I guess they have a little bit more wiggle room. But yeah, we saw how the audience responded. That when more people who just went there just for the sake of the game being the sake of the game, and for, you know, just the mechanics and everything, when they saw past that, you know, Bungie, as I prefer to call them these days, Bungle, will never be the same going forward, and they will probably never reach the heights that they once had because they bought too much into the message. And you know, it's just it's not a wise decision if you want to, you know, much like these weird people that are sitting here trying to subvert the kids and whatnot. The more you're upfront and overt about it, the more people notice, which in some ways, thank you for that, because when you're trying to do it subversively and insidiously, that also isn't necessarily the best thing. But this is one of those things that if you are going to try to strike the balance, you have to balance these things.
Yeah.
Because you got to balance your checkbooks with your ideologies. And you want to put a little bit of stupid shit in there, fine, but don't put so much in that you completely lose the whole purpose of your effort, which is supposed to be making money in the first place, when a large contingent of your audience probably isn't really about all that shit one way or the other, regardless how they feel, about that in general in their own privacy, because it's not the thing I came for. I came to be entertained by the thing that I like, and I just don't need all the stupid bullshit just drop down on top of my head. Like I need to be made aware in the age. I'm in my 40s. I don't need someone treating me like I'm in junior high or grade school and needing to just be led by by lessons of this is what it really means, and have get away from me. It's bullshit.
Yeah. Oh, agreed. All right, well, let's see what you guys are saying, and we're going to move on to the next story. But what do you guys think about that? I do think that it's ultimately a pragmatic move. Speaking of Dungeons & Dragons, Wizards of the Coast is also pulling back on this stuff, and they're basically just saying to the fans, what do you guys want to see? Because they're losing money, because the modern audience is just too small to cater to, and they're not worth it. And I think that ultimately that's the best you can hope for, is that people will, I don't need them to be me. I just need them to create a good product. I don't care what you believe. And that's like the best position I think that you could hope for. So I'm not saying that woke is dead. Obviously that's never going away. Woke doesn't die. It just hibernates and then it comes back. That's what they're going to do. It's going to go away for a little while. It's going to lay low and it's going to return. Plus the LGBT stuff, stopping is not organic. I already showed many times on this channel that the way that the cathedral works is it basically puts out its feelers for a specific cause in order to push communism. And then when there's pushback, they reel it in and then they make it about something else. So right now we're not dealing with gay shit. We're dealing with immigration shit. So immigration is a new thing. And when that is no longer effective, which I think is already starting to show, they're going to pivot to something else. It's going to be about women. It's going to be about black people. It's going to be about something else, right? The disabled, I guess. Maybe we'll have an entire riot revolving around people with Down syndrome. I don't know. But I mean, that this is how they work. They're just going to find a new purse puppy and then make everything about that when the time comes. But also, June is coming up, so Pride will probably come back. There's also a cyclical thing. We're in the middle of Women's History Month right now, so everything is about women right now. So as an example. But anyway, so let's see what you guys are saying, and we're gonna move on. So Marin Rabarik, thank you for your comment. He says, that's why I play Baldur's Gate 3 with the mod that removed the canon breaking woke. Well, what mod is that? I'd like to know. I'm curious. I would totally get that mod. Please tell me. Zarank says, so has Lindsay transitioned yet to American? No, we're on the paper. She's got a green card. We're working on it. But it's going to cost some money. It's a couple grand to make her a naturalized citizen. But we're working on that. Right now, we're looking at moving. We want to go move closer to family and stuff. So that's kind of what we would have to save money up for. But yeah, we are going to do it. Then he says they really don't know how to be moderate with the inclusion bit. The one thing they held to was limiting Asians, and that was slowly going away. Then Shang-Chi happened, and the actor is insufferable. Yes, he is. He doesn't want you drinking bubble tea, I think. You guys can't have bubble tea. Did you guys know that?
No, that's right. We're too white.
Fight Like Hell 93 says, Afro-Man beat the Ohio Donut Piggies. Excellent news. Yes, he did it, but he did it without making an ass of himself. He just basically followed the system, which is the way you do it. Down syndrome riot sounds hilarious. I think everyone will be having the best time. Neat Scholar says, I love the cops PSA. You guys are pissed about those cops that abuse their authority. We get that. Just please be aware we are from Adams County, Colorado. They are from Adams County, Ohio. Yeah, that makes sense. All right. Let us know what you guys think about this one in the comments. We're going to move on to the next one. Okay, so I got a bit of a darker story, but I got to share it. I thought it was interesting. This is actor Jerry O'Connell, who appeared on Bill Maher's Club Random podcast in an episode earlier this month where he recounted a dramatic family confrontation on election night. So if you guys don't know, this guy, Jerry O'Connell, is married to Rebecca Romijn. You guys remember Rebecca Romijn?
Oh, yeah.
She was
Mystique.
the actress. She played Mystique in the old X-Men movies. Yeah. She was like a bombshell lady. She was married to John Stamos for a while.
Indeed, she
By the way, when I was in high school, kids said I used to look like, but yep. I don't know if I was that lucky. But anyway, well, let's just listen to the clip. Oh, I gotta
boost it a little bit
and do it again. No, it's just that the audio's sometimes the audio on this thing does not it like cuts out and I gotta like refresh it. Okay. Oh shit. Wait, why isn't there no sound?
I'm gonna tell you about a bit
there
of
it is.
I say this, will I stay married? Blow it over here. My
sounds like you're gonna blow it over here.
The night of the election. This third one.
Yeah.
Third election. Everyone knows what I'm talking about here.
He's talking about the Trump election, but he won't say it for some reason.
I was watching late at night the returns, and I'll be honest, I didn't think Trump was going to win. I live in California. I didn't think he was going to win. From what I was hearing,
I didn't either.
I think he was going to win. No, this is where I live, you know.
Yeah.
I said something along the lines of like, there was no planning. This is what they get. There should have been a primary. I said something along those lines, you know, like I was just spitballing ideas as to, it was a shock, you know?
So he's saying he's trying to explain like why Kamala Harris lost, okay? He was trying to like help his wife and two daughters who are like 16 and 18, so pretty young, understand why they lost the election, okay? He was trying to rationalize as a man.
Yeah.
But let's keep listening.
My wife and daughters, without saying anything, became physical with me. They were filled with rage.
Mm-hmm.
So if I am being careful with you in how I say things, yes, I live in California. I live with not one, not two, but three people who, if I made any kind of joke, they would they become very angry with me. You know, I don't
want to tell you how to live your life, but I couldn't live that way. I would, whatever household or whatever situation I'm in, I say what I truly think, and if it makes you angry, I'm sorry. We'll have to work that out.
Well, it makes.
But I am not going to tuck my tail between my legs and just shut the fuck up. This is what you were dealing with when you were a child. Just sit there and don't say anything.
Yeah,
sit on your hands. But what happened to Rob Reiner? More of that, Jerry. More of that.
Yeah.
Where's Rob Reiner's ghost when you need him to be telling you more of that?
Well, Bill Maher can say that he's not married or anything, but
right.
So O'Connell, his wife Rebecca Romijn. Now I understand why John Stamos isn't with her anymore, I think. But,
right.
he implied the physical response stemmed from their emotional devastation and frustration at any perceived criticism of the Democrat Party. O'Connell joked nervously about whether sharing the story would endanger his marriage and noted ongoing tension like walking on eggshells and avoiding jokes that upset them. So, I mean, it's like these women are insane. Women have lost their minds, guys. I'm just saying. They like women, like maybe it's okay. Maybe I could just say it's just liberal women, but I don't think that that's good enough.
No.
I think that like this guy, and this is the worst part about this, is that he's obviously in an abusive situation.
Yep.
And he doesn't have a way to get out of it. Like he could just leave, but you know what I'm saying? Like nobody's going to have sympathy for that. Imagine if this was a woman and she was talking about her two sons and her husband getting violent with her because she tried to rationalize something like an election. I mean, and if an election could do that, like what else could do that? You know? Yeah, especially in California, sure. So I don't know if you knew about this, John, but I don't know.
Yeah, no, I heard a little bit about it. and definitely, he is certainly being abused and neglected by his family. And if the situation were reversed, again, this is one of those things: women not having to face legitimate accountability, and given a free pass, and and it also does reflect the quality of his character, because if you as a husband and a father can sit there and take literal physical attacks, from people that you love and care for, and still don't respond in kind, it says quite a bit about your resolve. Number one, so I do want to at least give him credit in that. However, for him to kind of be in this situation where he feels he has to kind of talk around the issue, when I mean, glad that he actually at least kind of brings it up to the level that he does, but he is kind of being a little bit kind of sheepish in his approach.
Absolutely. And how the media reported on this? They said that he was joking. He said he joked about his daughters and wife becoming violently physical with him. That's how they're reporting it. Even though if you listen to this, he's terrified. Like, that's what I think.
Yeah.
He seems to be genuinely
he's very sincere
of his wife and kids.
Right. And that's quite the unfortunate thing to, because like, as a guy who, for various people who watch the show, I have, I have a criminal record. I have a misdemeanor for self-defense, effectively, because we live in the 21st century. And you as a man, if you go to actually respond in kind and meet someone at the level that they're at, unfortunately, a lot of times, you're the one who's held responsible, even if someone else begins attacking you. So, like I said, credit to him for having at least the resolve to not fall into the trap, because immediately, even like he would be completely subjugated by this weird mentality that how dare you ever do anything to a woman? It's like, you wanted this whole fight for equality. I would never strike a lady, because a lady would never act like that. But if you're gonna ball up and like come after somebody, or you start choking them, or doing this kind of shit, at a certain point in time, you want equal rights, prepare for equal lefts, and that's kind of the whole situation. But that we find ourselves in, where all these people are like, oh well, if we undermine everything about them and we don't give them an appropriate way to respond, if someone is attacking you and you just let it happen and let it happen and let it happen and let it happen, at a certain point in time, conditioning yourself, you will get what you deserve, unfortunately, because you're not actually giving that person the appropriate balance in terms of what is and isn't acceptable. And if they're going to treat you in a way that you do not align with, and if you have some kind of, I suppose, again, always be led by your principles and values. And if your principles and values are that of, I'm not going to commit to the same kind of violence people commit upon me, then this is the best way that he can at least get the message out there for now, because of the way that he approaches life. I can at least appreciate for that. But the way that it's kind of not actually being seen for what it is a guy who's actually reaching out for some level of compassion, because he's not even getting that in his own home. If you're so butthurt by the person that you're with having a differing opinion,
I don't even think he had a different opinion. I think he was trying to explain
why
she lost. I don't even think he was just trying to rationalize what had happened, because people in California, they thought it, like, there was no way. They didn't think he could win because they were in a bubble. It's like people who live in the city, they live in a bubble, right? So it took them by surprise,
right? Because
they don't consider that there's a whole other country.
Exactly.
And then he was like, well, maybe there's an explanation for this. And that's when they got violent.
Right.
They got violent. That's I don't know how else to describe it. They got violent.
Right. And that is the kind of the world that we live in now, is that a lot of these hive minds, and this is part of the reason why they do the whole thing where you have to be on 100%, right? Because lies, dirty lies, and statistics, right? Like, a lot of the ways that they spin this stuff is, oh, you're not part of the group anymore. You're part of the out group. And so now whenever we go and we ask our question amongst the people that we deem fit, this is the same way they cockeye all those GDC surveys that they put out every year and try to say, oh, there's this many women in the game industry, and look at all this LGBTQ plus representation, because they're sending the questionnaires to people that they've already pre-selected so that they can try to spin a narrative. And that was definitely as much what the last election that we all went through was just a whole bunch of narrative spin and not really anything on the substantial matters. And so you had, people that were lying to themselves more than they were gaslighting the world around them come to a stark revelation that, oh shit, it doesn't matter how much I lie to myself. Reality will continue to be reality. And the more that you detach yourself and become deranged in that delusion, then probably the more it's going to smack you in the face, figuratively, and when the opposite happens. But that doesn't give you the right to go and legitimately physically smack someone in the face just because they're pointing out a common sense level of discernment to you. Kamala Harris, I will, as I said all the time, I'm not going to take away her talent. Any person who can climb a ladder on their knees and get all the way to just under the top rung in society, that's pretty impressive. But at the same time, it's kind of hard to stay on a ladder when all you're doing is climbing on your knees because your hands are somewhere else. And if that person, when that person has their fall from grace and that hurts your feelings to the point that you're like, oh, now I have to attack someone, this is, that's more indicative of the world that you're wanting to have. And if you think that it's perfectly fine to go and attack people just for not going along with your silly bullshit delusions, then all these people that you want to sit here and demonize, you're not doing anything other than exposing your own hypocrisy. So
yeah. Well, it's a shame, but I just had to share that with you guys. So I hope that he gets some help. And this is one of the things that I wanted to bring some awareness to, that this stuff happens and we need to take it more seriously because we don't know what's going on there. You guys hear about that woman that was part of the Bachelorette that was really violent and abusive?
Yep. Throwing they said chairs, but they were bar stools.
This generation, Generation Alpha women and millennial women, are not only the most violent but the most rapey. That in recorded history for as long as we've been recording.
Right, which is part of the reason why princess culture was always a bad idea, because this is kind of the weird shit that it leads to, is these privileged people that are just anything that you do that steps out of line with what they think, they subjugate you. And then when you actually and you just have been reinforcing it for all this time, saying, oh, she's just a girl, we have to give her treat her with kid gloves and this and that. And so we've developed a whole nation full of monstrous women that are the furthest thing from ladies, people of any level of respect or common sense and decency. And we've lost an entire generation, because there's some things you can bend something and put it back into shape, but once it breaks without some really extensive work, it's never going to be back to functional. And that's where a lot of these women reside at this point in time, unfortunately.
Yep. All right, let us know what you guys think about this one in the comments. We got to move on to the next story. So let's talk a little bit about DLSS 5. So NVIDIA unveiled DLSS 5 at GTC 2026, positioning it as a major breakthrough in neural rendering and generative AI for games. Unlike previous DLSS versions focused on upscaling and frame generation, DLSS 5 uses AI to overhaul lighting, materials, textures, and even character appearances for more photorealistic results demonstrated in titles like Resident Evil Requiem and Assassin's Creed Shadows. NVIDIA touted it as an optional, developer-controlled, and a step towards hyperrealism, with features like intensity adjustments and masking to preserve artistic intent. The reaction has been overwhelmingly negative, sparking a widespread rage and backlash across gaming communities, social media, and industry pros. Gamers and artists slammed it as AI slop, yassifying characters, making them unnaturally glossy, smooth, or beautified in an uncanny way, homogenizing visuals and overriding deliberate art direction, altering moody lighting in Resident Evil demos, or adding weird glows and highlights that feel like beauty filters or AI-generated porn edits. YouTube announcement videos hit 84% dislikes, or over 84%. Digital Foundry previews, drew heavy criticism, even death threats in extreme cases, and developers, including some from Capcom and Ubisoft, expressed shock, calling it disrespectful or unaware until public reveal. Terms like uncanny valley, AI glow-up disaster, and memes comparing it to looks maxing or Ebony ads flooded discussions. NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang dismissed critics as completely wrong, insisting developers retain control and it's not a true generative AI, but this doubled down on the outrage rather than quelling it. Sources include Tom's Hardware, Polygon, Engadget, TechRadar, Ars Technica, Kotaku, Gaming on Linux, and viral YouTube/Reddit threads from mid-March 2026. And I have the option to do DLSS5 on my copy of Resident Evil Requiem. I turned it on. I didn't notice anything, so I just turned it off. I didn't notice anything, though, when I used it. So, but... yeah, it doesn't sound like it's going over very well. Although I want to say one more thing. I'm gonna let you talk, John, because I have a feeling you have a lot to say on this. I do think it would be really hilarious if you could use generative AI to change the graphics on games that have uglified characters on purpose, and then share gameplay of that. So they mentioned Assassin's Creed Shadows, for example, as one of the games that uses it. Now I know that this tool doesn't, I don't think it does that, but could you imagine a time, because I feel like AI is here and we're not, it's not going away, but can you imagine a time where you get a game and they have, like, let's say you find in like some, you know, bombed out crater a copy of Concord, and you're able to put it in your computer or your machine and use generative AI to change the characters into something that looks good, and then you made video of that and you showed it off. Could that not be used as a tool to piss off wokies even more? Which is like the one thing I would welcome. It's kind of like what Smash JT did, where he took a bunch of like woke character designs from the new Fable, from Horizon Zero Dawn, from I believe from Concord, and some other games, and he basically said, "Make her beautiful." I think it was like a bunch of different things. Yeah. Gote, you know, he did it with that game. Imagine that, but you actually have gameplay. I just think that'd be great for trolling people. But go ahead, Tom.
To your point, yeah, I do think that that is ultimately where a lot of this is leading to. It is not at that level just yet, and so, but it's a tool. So I'm not going to sit here and blame a hammer for being a hammer just as much as I'm going to blame a gun for being a gun. It's how you utilize it in ways that's going to kind of, you know, ultimately say more about the wielder than it will even the tool itself. So, you know, there are aspects to this, but there because this is one of those things where it's like some stuff is, I'm just kind of like, oh yeah, well, just kind of like a sign of the times, and these are tools that are available for certain things. But then there's also the immediate kind of thing about like it does change artistic I guess execution. But some of these things, you know, for older games, when we talk about, oh, it'd be nice if I could just have a nicer looking version of the thing that I like, we will be able to do that in the future, which is kind of nice, not having to wait for, you know, a remastered version of something only to find out that it's being reimagined.
Obsolete, because then you can just play the old one.
Right. So, you know, you aren't surprised by reimaginings that subvert the thing that you actually care about. So I'm not going to sit here and say that this thing is 100% terrible. However, in its current state, it doesn't. This is going to require data centers to run, like to run effectively in real time.
I don't think we should be doing this just because of like how much energy it's going to ask for. You know,
and it creates an always online component, because right now the way that the technology works is they are using still images, and it's just filter systems that are showing, you know, camera movements, but not actually moving through the space, because the current problem with a lot of AI, and this is just in without it even trying to sit here and overly beautify all things, you know, even with frame generation, when it's interpolating what those in-betweens are and everything like that, when it's in motion, it looks kind of fuzzy and causes all kinds of weird issues. So when they were showing this tech demo, they made it a point to shut it off whenever they were moving, and then when they would stop to like look around the room, that's when they would turn it back on. So, you know, yeah, so like this is a little bit of sleight of hand magic, because what they're not telling you is the whole part about, oh yes, to use this technology in real time on a game, there has to be a data center, which means that you have to have an always online connection, which means that you don't actually get to own your games. And this is all more in the efforts to just kind of stifle long-term creativity. But when you're talking about a game from 10, 15, 20 years ago, that the technology can be utilized to enhance the values that are there. And not to say that that is undercutting the artist's intent, because in a lot of those instances, they were doing the best they could to operate within the limitations. And so in certain areas, I can kind of see it being more effective. But with modern day tech that we have already for rendering and this and that, it's kind of, it doesn't really seem like it's absolutely necessary, unless you are just going to try to utilize it as another method to not actually make your own artistic style and try to speak through the visuals of your game. But if you want to go and take like a 10, 15, 20-year-old game and ostensibly mod it with an AI agent, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that you're doing anything that's out of line, because maybe you just want to kind of have a better you know, representation of the way that you remember it. But when you actually look at it and it's kind of muddy and washed out, you would almost welcome something that doesn't look like that, as long as it still plays the same and does all this kind of stuff. So this one's kind of a little bit of a mixed bag, but I'm not one of these people who's like anything AI is slop and it has to be feared. But also at the same time, what this is actually trying to condition people for, the idea that you're always online and always being monitored, and you know, everything that's you know, presented to you is, oh, how can I give you the thing in the most digestible way so that you'll just go along with it and not actually kind of think about the substance beyond the superficial. And so this will continue to develop and bring all sorts of more interesting conversations as we get further into it. I don't think that it's inherently the worst thing, but I certainly don't think it's the best thing. It's just, it's a tool, and the way that it ultimately gets employed for use is going to be the thing that kind of dictates whether or not this is anything beneficial. But for right now, it does seem something that kind of hampers the actual ability to play a game in real time. And, you know, and I'm not really somebody who wants to ever be signed into a always online service just so I can have access to my games to, you know, tie into a cloud service that's monitoring everything that I do in the game and just serving me up some superficial overlay as a reward for them to be able to, you know, dig into my privacy. I just want to play a game, leave me alone, you know? So, yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't want that. But I think that AI is not going away. I guess it just depends on
usage.
Well, I don't know what the future holds for this stuff, because when AI is starting off, I was like, oh, they're gonna, like, some people are already trying to use it to, like, you know, alter older video games, like all textures. I think they were doing something with Doom or with Half-Life, and I was like, okay, so this is like, this is what they're going to use it for, or at least obviously it's going to have a lot of uses, but like, this is one of the places they're going to use it. I don't have like a really strong opinion either way on it. The truth is that it's here and there's not much we can do about it, but obviously, like, we should be looking at whether or not this will help or hinder a product in like, you know, on a case-by-case basis, right? And if there will be better tools that will also come out that will work better, you know, that will, because I think what people want is They want something that is going to improve the quality of the game without like being too intense on the demands of your, whatever your hardware is, and also not be like a live, like a thing that you have to be online to enjoy at all times. Right. So whatever's going to give you the best of all those things is probably what most consumers are hopefully looking for. But it's hard to say. Like, I mean, this is like we're at an interesting point in this, but I think it's good to look at, and I think it's good that people are not just like eating this up and they're pushing back on it. And because like the thing is that there's a lot of crap that people make with AI, but that doesn't mean AI itself is useless, right? It's just that a lot of people, they just make crappy things with it, especially like the stuff you find on social media that somebody put like a couple of simple prompts in and made a little video. You've seen like the new viral meme that people have done with AI. I see it all over X. I'm not even looking for it. It's basically like a scene from an 80s movie that came out in 1990 called Career Opportunities.
Oh yeah,
there's a scene where Jennifer
Connelly, the greatest scene in all of movie history.
Yeah, it's one of the greatest scenes ever, right? And it's Jennifer Connelly in her friggin' prime, and she's riding on a one of those coin-operated horses inside of a big department store. I remember the name of it. It might have been a Target.
It was in Target. It was in a Target.
It was a Target. Yeah. And people have taken that clip and they've like swapped out, Jennifer Connelly for various characters like Tomb Raider and
Toasty. She's we got inundated last week with
there's like a bunch of them, a whole bunch, right?
Yeah.
That's like the slop. Like people are just like changing, that with or whatever it is. Like they'll have like stuff that's like borderline pornographic, like whatever they can get away with, but I don't think that is endemic of like what it's actually going to be used for. I think that's just people playing with something, and I think that people are already getting kind of like bored of it. But yeah, it is like leaning into like dead internet theory, where like if everything is being made by AI, then there's like nobody online anymore. Right. So I assure you that I'm not AI and I am real, and I'm trying to stay real for you guys. So, John, I'm not so sure about though.
There has been a lot of debate on that ever since I arrived here.
So, all right, let me see what you guys are saying, and then we're gonna move on to the last story. Okay, Murray and Rabarik says there's Baldur's Better Aesthetics 3.0. I'll look at that. And then later he said, based mods used to have a mod that activates Sir Aelin, the male version of the angel that is in the game's data. Well, I mean, that would be cool. I guess but I mean, can you get it anymore? I'm not really sure. Murder of Crows says, Jerry better learn to maintain frame harder or he may be murdered by Mystique and her mini-me's. Who knows? It must be such a cold home to enter at the end of the day. Yes. He's obviously uncomfortable and scared. Bitches be crazy. Women have no limits because they face no consequences. Yes. Disney is one of the worst things a parent can raise their daughters on. Yeah, sure. Gabriel says, can't wait for game engines to be even more dependent on TAA. I don't know what that is. I'm sorry. Not a tech bro. Norwegian says, DLSS 5 is just one more crutch shit devs can lean on instead of fixing their games. Gabriel says, always turn DLSS if you can. Problem with modern games is that they aren't optimized, so they run poorly without it. Oh, I didn't know that. Graphics are often dependent on DLSS or TAA. DLSS forces a form of TAA and breaks without it. Huh, didn't know that. Let me see. We got some kickbots, of course. Gabriel says, at least on PC, you have a choice to force it off if it's not in the options, but you're fucked on consoles. Helldivers 2 is the only console game, to my knowledge, that lets you disable TAA. Master Goa says, you should run DLAA if you can. It performs the same operations as DLSS, but at native resolution. DLSS works with lower quality, then scales up. Thus, DLAA is superior. I am confused. I don't know. I don't know what any of those things are. Mods are objectively better. Yeah, unless they get banned and you can't find them anywhere. Hands, let's see the hands. How many fingers are you holding up? I have 5 fingers.
I assure you, I
but
only
you know
have.
what? The hand thing isn't an issue for AI anymore. Like that used to be an issue, but it's not an issue anymore.
Right. Well, now it's just the way that it interacts with things, because that's the President BB, as I have called him in recent years, for actually quite some time, because unfortunately the lobbyist rot and corruption goes far and wide. But yeah. The main issues that people were getting caught up on were like, well, there was of course the first one that had the extra fingers, and stuff like that really only kind of happens in motion. But a lot of the things were pockets jumping, rings disappearing, facial head shape, head shapes changing, and all this kind of weird stuff. Like, I know it's not one of our stories of the week, but yeah, we are in interesting times, and I'm sure there'll be more time to get into that as it develops. But yeah, where in the world is President Bibi? Is he alive? Is he dead? Who knows?
He is with Netanyahu.
Right.
Master Goa says, I hear that's what YouTube wants to do, to have everything just generated on the fly. So when you search, it will just create rather than pulling up actual user content. I could see them doing that. That's why you guys should just come over to Rumble. Gabriel says that shit you saw with RE9 was due to TAA ghosting. I fixed that. I managed to get it. It looks good now, so no issues. Nice. Okay, so let me know what you guys think about that one in the comments. DLSS5, you hate it, you love it. What are your thoughts? Last story. So Crimson Desert is out, and it's like doing. Well, it's weird because the excitement has shifted to so Crimson Desert, the ambitious open world action adventure from Pearl Abyss, developers of Black Desert Online, launched globally on March 19th on all platforms. Mm-hmm. Pre-launch trailers and previews built massive hype around the stunning visuals, frantic combat, often compared to Devil May Cry or Ninja Gaiden. Wow, those are bold claims. Massive exploration in the world of POL and sheer content volume, leading many to call it potential Game of the Year contender for 2026. Early impressions from content creators praise the fresh, skill-based combat, immersive world building, and depth for content lovers who enjoy sinking hundreds of hours into side activities and exploration. However, post-launch reception has been notably split and polarizing. Mm-hmm. Critic scores average around 78 to 80, so a good game. On Metacritic, it's an open critic, it's like 79, 80. Mm-hmm. With outlets like IGN, who cares? Giving it a 6 out of 10 for clunky controls, shallow mechanics, weak story, narrative, uninteresting characters, and overwhelming systems that feel bloated or MMO-like without strong cohesion. Player reviews on Steam sit at mixed, around 67% positive from thousands of reviews, with over 40% negative in some tallies, citing similar issues: aggressive bosses, poor quest design, performance hiccups, and a slow start that doesn't hook anyone, or doesn't hook everyone, rather. This led to backlash against critics, some calling scores unfair compared to other titles, a sharp 30% drop in Pearl Abyss stock, and debates framing it as a gorgeous disaster or diamond in the rough. So it's like people have they either like it or they hate it. And I think it's just really interesting. I think, I don't know for sure, but I have a theory as to what the problem is. Defenders highlight the jaw-dropping worlds, combat satisfaction after the learning curve, and vast replayability, while detractors say it overpromised on narrative depth and undelivered polish. Overall, it's divisive, loved by those who vibe with the buffet-style animation, but frustrating for others expecting a tighter focus. Sources include Notebook Check, WCCF Tech, some Reddit threads, YouTube review roundups, and X discussions from creators and fans. So I think that what this game suffers from, if anything, is its ambition. So when I watched, Cabrutus Rambo was playing it. I'm subscribed to Cabrutus, the guy who basically created DEI Detected, and he was playing it, and I was watching him for a while, and I asked him what he thought about it, and he was like, "Oh, I think it's all right." But I think that what it suffers from, because I told him it looks like Dragon's Dogma 2. That's what it reminds me of when I watched somebody play it. was very much like Dragon's Dogma 2, which I think is a good game. But it also, I think it was trying to be like Where Winds Meet. And so what my issue with it is, or what I think the problem with it is that it's a game that's trying to do too much. It's too big. And I think it's trying to do too many things. And so people who want something that is giving them a specific objective don't feel like it's telling them where to go. Whereas people who like the idea of just like wandering around and doing whatever, like the game. And that's what I think is happening. The other thing is that this game doesn't hold your hand the way a lot of other games do. So, for example, there's no yellow paint in the game. So there's like puzzles that some people get stuck on and they just quit. So those could be good things, you know, depending on the person. Some people want a linear experience, you know. It's kind of like going back to the first story when I talked about Dark Souls. Some people like hate Dark Souls 3 because it's more linear than Dark Souls 1, which is more like, you know, you can choose different paths, and Dark Souls 3 is more linear than those. But I don't mind the games that are more linear if the experience is good, right? Sometimes like really big open world games, you can be just like, you know, analysis paralysis. Like you don't want to do anything. Like I played Where Winds Meet for a while, and then I just stopped because it was like, it's just too much to do. I don't want to do it all, you know? And so I don't know, like that's what I don't know, like what I think that Dragon's Dogma 2 is good. This game is probably solid, but I think it may have been a little bit too ambitious and tried to do too much. So
well, you know, I appreciate you mentioning Where Winds Meet, because you're the only other person than myself who's made that comparison in the people that I speak with immediately in this, you know,
between this and Where Winds Meet.
Yeah. Because you know, the way that I felt about Where Winds Meet within just you know, of course I first tried to play it on my Steam Deck, didn't work, and I was like, oh well, I guess for once my PS5 is going to come in handy. Within the last few years, I can actually check into this game and see what it is. And you know, the best way I could ever describe Where Winds Meet is it's much like the Platte River. It's a mile wide and, you know, an inch deep. And so like there's so much going on with it, but there's no real depth to anything, that it kind of rang hollow and nothing felt all that rewarding. This, however, I think is a little bit more well executed than that, because everything in Where Winds Meet was just, you know, you can change everything. Like here, you make your own characters, this and that. This is a story about a thing that's going on, and it opens itself up and it reveals itself. And I know Will's been enjoying it immensely.
Like I said, some people like, because it's got elements of Legend of Zelda, like those like last couple, like Tears of the Kingdom and stuff. Like it has some of that. It has some Dragon's Dogma 2. It has some Red Dead Redemption 2 because of the right. You know, like it's taking from a lot of things that are very popular. Like IGN gave Red Dead like a perfect score, Red Dead 2, and they gave this one a 6. So I don't know.
Well, I know this about the guy who wrote the IGN article. He claimed to have sunk 150 hours into this game and another game. He said that he played for 100 hours in the same time frame. Now, there's 167 hours in a week. What this guy is suggesting doesn't math for me all that well. And one of his complaints too, he was using an early build, so
he was playing it before it came out.
Right. And so when on his build, he got new builds, and so when he would get a new build, this time that he spent with it was effectively his saves were reset because the build just didn't mesh. And so I think that this guy, who kind of questionable at best in terms of his skill levels and everything, and I don't really trust a lot of game journalists to begin with, tried to do a time sink into something that is designed. You know, I remember back in the 80s, 90s, people didn't have a lot of money to put towards games and things like that. So generally you might buy, you know, 1, maybe 3 or 4 game titles a year. So like games used to kind of try to like give you replayability and something you could play for, you know, 3 to 6 months at a time and things like that. And so I think that this is kind of a modern interpretation of how you go and give people actual, a world space to play and explore and do all of this kind of stuff and give them value, because they did charge full price on this. This is a $70 game, so to go and try to say, I mean, games should be ambitious and they should try to do things, and I think that this is one of those things that is meant to kind of simmer. This also, and the fact that on the same day that this was released globally, Death Stranding 2 was released also on PC, which is another game that I would put in the same kind of category, where it doesn't do a lot of hand holding. You can go get missions, and when you get the mission, it'll tell you the thing and the place, like it'll give you your destination on the map and whatnot. But for the most part, it's left to you to explore, to actually do all this kind of stuff. And how many people, when Death Stranding came out, immediately just said, "Oh, boring walking simulator." I don't know, because they didn't take the time to actually figure out the more complex controls, because we are dealing with a time where you want more complexity in games, and then when somebody goes and does it, it's like, "Oh, well, this is way too complex." Have you ever heard the expression "get good" and actually maybe spend some time with things? I love listening to the Talking Heads, right? And and Nine Inch Nails, like some bands though, sometimes like on first listen, it's like it's okay, but I just I haven't gotten all of it yet. And so I think that a game like this is meant to simmer and kind of build, and this was not made for everyone, and which is a great thing. This is made for a specific kind of audience, and just as most people don't like Death Stranding, and I don't hold that against them, I love Death Stranding. If you only gave me one game that I could play, and that's just it. As much as I love Metal Gear as a series, even more so than Death Stranding, if I could only play the one game, I would play Death Stranding, because it actually has a lot of that stuff there. All the mechanics work for me and all this kind of stuff. But I know that game pisses off most people, because they didn't even get to the point to where they could change how they encounter the world space and interact with it, because they're like, "Oh, this guy can't walk," or anything like that. It was trying to say something in through its mechanics that, before you can walk, you have to crawl, and before you can run, you have to learn how to walk. And so that was the game. It was building you up as a character, and the whole idea was that you would actually learn how to navigate, and it's never going to be what you want, so you have to actually deal with it for what it is. And so for some people like myself, absolutely love it. Death Stranding is like the greatest thing. I can't wait to get Death Stranding 2 so I can start my Death streaming series, and and then revisit number 1 after that. But that's the kind of game that I see this as. This is not made for everyone, but on the course of its development, so many people saw all the kind of stuff, and they just kind of projected a lot of their wants and desires into it. Because that's, to me, the exact same thing that happened with Death Stranding. They're like, "Oh man, I can't wait for Metal Gear to happen," and it's going to be Metal Gear Unchained, away from Konami. And then all of a sudden you get this story that's about multi-dimensional quantum entanglement, and there's some stuff in there that kind of reads like The Message a little bit, and all this kind of stuff. But for me, I'm down for all those topics and everything like that, and it is convoluted in its storytelling, and a lot of it's just kind of left to you to kind of interpret and things like that. And even the things that they tell you outright when you get around to it, some people are just like, whatever, and it goes over their head, and they're like, just as much as people used to play Metal Gear games for the mechanics and not the cutscenes, it doesn't take away from the richness to the people who are actually there for the totality of it. And so I think that that's what we're seeing with the way that this game is released, is that there's a lot of pushback coming from people who projected their wants and desires into it. And then when this thing actually just came out as it is, trying to stand as its own entity for establishing something. And sure, it's got some bugs in it and this and that. I'm not going to sit here and say that it's flawlessly executed, but I think that this was made for an audience to court customers, rather than to try to have this consumer reaching kind of thing that just is anybody can just pick up and play. That's more where wins meet, because it is a free to play game. And something like this, the value sink that you put into it, and if you have that kind of mindset, is rewarding, but not everybody's built like that. So a game like this, you really have to know the way that your play styles and what you expect from a game, this thing might be the furthest thing from what you would ever want. But for people who really like those epic kind of sprawling adventures and things that, you know, reward you for putting your money into it and actually giving you more and more of an experience for an extended period of time. This is one of the best things that has come out recently. So I actually appreciate that this thing has got such mixed reviews, because, you know, the worst thing that you could ever strive for is apathy, right? And so this thing having such high levels of praise while simultaneously getting, you know, just panned on every little fucking nitpicky bullshit that someone might have, goes to show that what they did was actually make something that is of substance, that you know, stands out for what it's trying to do for itself on its own merits. And the way that people kind of react to it kind of reveals more than about themselves than anything that they're saying about it, you know. So I don't mind this thing having mixed reviews, because to me, that's everything's going to have mixed reviews, you know, like, because a lot, you know, and if we're actually being legitimately honest with things, because to get so diluted and just say things are either the greatest thing ever or the worst thing ever is pretty dismissive of individual tastes and, you know, just interests. And, you know, I think that we need more of things like this rather than less, you know, and you know, hopefully the little nitpicky bullshit bugs and things like that will get fixed. Obviously they were in the process of doing that when the IGN writer, you know, had his whole little complaint about, oh, I had to restart the game. My save file was, dude, you're playing a pre-build. That's just the way, you know, like, if you can't understand that, you know, like it, and their weird kind of way of, in comparison, they rate this game that was on a preview build, but then with Marathon, they held back the rating on it and only just spoke about it because, you know, the people at Bungie were like, hey, could you wait a few months until we release this bullshit? And then at that point in time, when it's our complete vision, go ahead and review it. So this does kind of seem like a little bit of a double standard again, where they're doing certain things for one group and then not for another, and not actually giving you the full context of, or try to, you know, just even sweep the context under the rug. So all you're dealing with is the content of their feelings and their reflections on it, rather than this kind of just being oh, this is what the game does, this. But bear in mind, it's a work in progress that I was dealing with. You know, the IGN writer is kind of up their ass and around the corner about the way that they wrote it and the way that they've spoken about it since. But I don't expect this game to be for everybody, nor should it. And if it's not your thing, if you're not into Legend of Zelda kind of things, you're not into Death Stranding, you know, if you're not into, like, you know, then go in with some level of caution and trepidation. I'd say definitely watch somebody who plays games and base it off of if you're finding things that are actually interesting to you. If you want more complex controls in games, then that's, you know, that's not a bad thing. And if you get this on Steam, I don't know if you can, if it has customizable controls by default. I don't think that it does. But if you get this on Steam, which is also another reason to support Steam, every game has customizable controls just through the fact that you're running it through Steam. You know, so a lot of those issues can also just kind of be detailed to your own specific play style. So, but yeah, I think this is an interesting, you know, way that people have been responding to it. And I totally not unexpected on my end. I actually, you know, if it would have just been nothing but nonstop praise, I probably would have been more concerned about that. You know,
no, I would have been suspicious too. But I mean, ultimately, it filters down to, you know, if you like games like Breath of the Wild and Dragon's Dogma 2 and Red Dead 2, then this is probably like up your alley. And there's definitely some, like, it has like a crazy, like, you can see a place in the distance and go over there. Like, it's, you know, this is something that people boast, but this can do it. Like, it's kind of impressive.
Yeah.
So, but, and yeah, game journalists are they're looking for anything they can, like, knock down a peg, because that doesn't support the games that they want to promote.
Yep.
So anyway, but we are at time.
Indeed.
So we're gonna wrap it up here. I'll just, like, mention some of your guys' comments, and then we're gonna close the show out. You guys are arguing about TAA and DLSS. I'm not going to get involved with that. But Autistic Helicopter says, start the game, my boy. I'm not doing a game today. But I will see you on Tuesday when I stream Fallout New Vegas again. And let me see. Master Goa says, I like Dragon's Dogma 2, but DD1 felt better. Yeah, you're right. I did enjoy the first one more. And I can't explain why, but I did. The second one might also have been too big. I don't know. Mr. 303 says, this is why I generally avoid open world games. They have too wide of a scope. Yeah, you just again, they're not for everybody. That's all it is. If you need cake, I dropped something to Hype Train before the stream. Yeah, I'm afraid I don't have time for that, Master Go, but I appreciate the $5. I will highlight it next time, but unfortunately I have work I got to do. And this show went a little bit long. I did have a lot of topics, so. Master Goa says, I like the look of voxel games. Sony had a voxel creation game called Dreams, and what people created was amazing. I remember I wanted that. That was Media Molecule. I did want it, but then I was like, well, this game's going to be way too big. Another one, because basically you can create anything with it. So it's pretty cool, though. Norwegian says, I'm a big advocate of games finding their niche and sticking to it. Yes. Let me see. Nobody's arguing in chat. I'm just commenting. Let me be a peanut guy over here with my commentary. Let me
right.
Don't take it from me. All right. Mr. 033 says, Game Journals praise only garbage like The Last of Us. All right. So we're going to wrap the show up there. Thanks, guys, for coming on the stream and checking this out with me. John, really quick, what do you got going on?
Immediately after this, we have unlocked a Jack Mox game day over on Will of the Fans, so I'll be heading over there. It might already be in progress, but I'm going to be doing that immediately or within the next little bit of time if it hasn't started quite yet. So that's where you can find me today. After that, of course, all I have left to do is try to deal with my tech issues and watch 2 episodes of Red Dwarf so that tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Eastern, we will be doing our reviews of season 11, episodes 5 and 6. We're getting close to the end of the series now. We've only got season 12 and the special. So we'll, in about a month's time, a month and a half, we'll be completely all finished up with our Red Dwarf series of reviews. But yeah, you can always find me there with Will and Rhoda throughout the week, Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, where we do Wanker of the Week, and Toasty generally joins in with us on the Thursday morning shows. But we do those at 11 a.m. Eastern currently. And outside of that, of course, Toasty and I can also be found over on her channel, 8 p.m. Eastern, Sundays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. We've changed some stuff up over there. Tuesdays, we're now doing interview conversations. We just had Dante from Verbal Riot and Film Threat. He joined in. We had a great conversation this last Tuesday. If you want to go check it out, it's a great evergreen kind of conversation. He evidently lives right next to me. He's a neighbor now, living in the state of Colorado. And we just kind of got into all kinds of, conspiratorial this and that and everything. And so we've got a whole bunch of series and even just Fallout in general. We're doing those on Thursday nights. And then, we do our Fridays. Of course, yesterday, Toasty wasn't feeling well and I had my tech issues, so we didn't do it. But yeah, you can always find me over there doing that and for our panel shows on the weekends. And with that said, though, of course, that would bring us back to where you can always find us here every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern. Especially want to appreciate everybody for giving us some support over on Rumble today. We had over 20 people at one point in time. So yeah, it was really great to see.
Keep it going.
Indeed. If you like what we're doing, definitely please like, share, follow, repost the streams when they come out. Let your friends know that if they're kind of like-minded in the way that they look at the world, that so it's a good place to stop in early morning on Saturday to kind of check in on that kind of stuff. But we are obviously already going a little bit long. So I just want to thank you all for the time that you spent with us today, whether you joined from the beginning or anywhere along the way. So glad that you're all here at the end. But thank you again for everything. Always a pleasure being here with you, Brian. With that said, of course, you all have a wonderful week going forward. Safe travels ahead. Be awesome as always.
All right. Well, if you guys like this video, please hit like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, hit the bell for notifications, leave us a comment, let us know what you guys think about what we talked about in the show today, and share the video because sharing is caring. Thank you guys so much for coming on this episode of The Week in Culture, and we will talk to you guys in the next one. Long live Vivian.
With the glass ceiling broken, all the oppressed groups shall prosper, especially the most oppressed group of all, gamers.
I want people in the industry to be a little bit louder about people being mean to other people, and maybe say it's not a good thing.
Yeah.
Maybe say we don't want you around if you're going to be a cunt.
Yeah.
And hateful. And that the games industry is diverse naturally. Not because anyone's making them be diverse. Because the world is diverse, you stupid motherfucker. And if you have a problem with that, come fight me. Physically. Bitch.
Has anyone taken you up on that yet?
No, because they're all pussies.
Yep.
Down here, salt is a way of life.
Obviously, the environment down here is all salt. The ceiling's salt, the floor is salt, the walls are salt, and to an extent, the air is salt. And you breathe that in, and you can constantly taste the salt.